They will be docking with a million-pound spacecraft as they close in on the International Space Station. Good evening to you. Welcome back to our coverage. The team here inside Mission Control has been monitoring the flight of the spacecraft. All systems are green. The trip is going according to plan, and as of right now, the spacecraft is about 15 kilometers away from the International Space Station and closing in very rapidly. The docking this evening is scheduled for 9:48 p.m. Central Time. And as we speak, Dina Cantella, the flight director there in the center console, is doing her go-no-go poll of everybody in the room to make sure that all is set for tonight's docking. On the other side of the world, the Russian flight control room is monitoring the progress of the spacecraft. They are doing their go-no-go polls as well. Everybody so far is go. Again, the spacecraft closing in on the International Space Station about 15 kilometers away. At the time that docking takes place, the two vehicles should be off the northwestern coast of South America. This mission is flying under the call sign of Pulsar. This is the same call sign used by Kotov, who is the Soyuz commander, on his first Soyuz launch to the station. During the launch this evening, he had a small toy hanging above his face. Of course, that is tradition. It allows them to sort of fly with a talisman that also indicates whenever they've reached orbit. It was a small cat that was given to him by his children. It's also the same toy that he carried with him on his two previous missions. As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, launch took place at 3:58 p.m. Central Time today, 4:58 p.m. Eastern Time. It was a clear night there in Baikonur. As you can see, the crew climb the staircase up to the rocket. There's Kotov at the bottom, Mike Hopkins, and there's Sergei Rosansky. All smiles and waves as they get ready to climb aboard the rocket that had been fueled about 3 hours or so before launch. A lot of dignitaries and other supporters on the ground. Liftoff occurred as planned at 3:48 p.m. Central Time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's close to a 9-minute ride into orbit, but the Soyuz rocket itself lit up the night sky there in Baikonur. Again, a clear night. The stars were out and the temperatures were in the upper 50s, lower 60s. There you see the separation of the 4 strap-on boosters that occurred. The Cross of Korolev, as they call it. One of the fathers of Russian spaceflight is who that is named after. Back now with a live view of the Russian flight control room. Those team members there are going to be monitoring the final moments of docking. We're about 20 minutes away from the initiation of the fly-around. But right now, the Soyuz continuing to close in at a fairly rapid rate. There's going to be a series of impulse burns that will take place coming up shortly. The first one's going to be at 9:13 p.m. Central Time, 10:13 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be impulse number 4. That'll be a burn. That'll be 15.3 miles per hour or 22.5 feet per second. Impulse 5 will take place at 9:18 p.m. Central Time, and impulse 6 will take place at 9:21 p.m. Central Time. Again, fly around due to begin in about 20 minutes, or about 9:24 and 24 seconds. And then at 9:34, that is when the Soyuz will begin station keeping, sort of hanging out, getting ready for the final push into the station. 9:37 is when final approach will begin. The two vehicles will enter into orbital sunset just a few minutes later at 9:40. And then docking will take place at 9:48 p.m. Central Time in 11 seconds. So they're going to be docking with the Poisk module, which is the space-facing portion, the docking portion of the Russian segment. You see it there at the top. You also see the current layout of the station with the ATB-4, that is the European cargo vehicle. There at the back, the Progress 52, there on the bottom on the Piers docking compartment. And the Soyuz 35, which is the vehicle that brought up Fyodor Yurchikhin Luca Parmitano and Kara Nyberg there docked with the Rosvet module, which is Earth-facing there on the Russian segment. This crew is going to have an extremely busy next few days. This docking tonight, they'll have the traditional safety briefing with the commander of Expedition 37, Fyodor Yurchikhin, on board, along with Luca Parmitano and Karen Nyberg once they get on board. They're due to have a meal once they get up there as well, grab some a late lunch for them. And then over the next few days, they're going to have some busy time as well. The next major operation for the space station is coming up this weekend. You may have seen the interview with Deputy ISS Program Manager Joel Montalbano here on NASA television right before we came on the air. He did that interview with NASA Public Affairs Officer Rob Navius there after launch. Cygnus is due to come up to the station this weekend. Flight planners are looking carefully at whether that's going to be Saturday or Sunday. The orbital team is going to continue working on the Cygnus vehicle and uploading some software patches, getting ready for the rendezvous activities. We should have a better sense of exactly what day that Cygnus is going to arrive at the station sometime tomorrow. There's going to be a mission management team meeting also on Friday morning, and then we'll know whether we're targeting Sunday morning or whatever date that may be. So, of course, we'll have live coverage here on NASA television of all of that. We'll have updates for you on Space Station Live on Thursday and Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time. And, of course, you can always follow along with the latest on nasa.gov/station. So, again, Cygnus is to be determined in terms of when it's going to arrive at the station, but the teams are continuing to work, and if it turns out that Sunday morning is when we're targeting, then we will announce that on both nasa.gov and here on NASA television. Soyuz now about 6.5 kilometers away and continuing to close in on the International Space Station. Again, this crew, Mike Hopkins, Oleg Kotov, Sergei Rosansky. They're going to be joining the current station crew, Luca Parmitano, Karen Nyberg, and Fyodor Yurchikhin. These three have been on board since May 28th. They're scheduled to return to Earth in mid-November. And we're going to have an unusual November aboard the space station. You see the 6 crew members there that will comprise Expedition 37. But later on, there's going to be 9 members on board the space station. We haven't seen that in quite a while. Mikhail Tyurin, Rick Mastracchio, and Koichi Wakata will be launching in November, heading up to the space station. You see them there undergoing final preparations. The mock-up of the Soyuz back behind them. They're going to be taking up an Olympic torch, and that torch is going to be used in the 2014 Winter Olympics, which are in Sochi, Russia. And it's going to be taken out of the space station during a spacewalk that the crew will conduct, and then it will come back to Earth with Nyberg, Parmitano, and Yurchikhin. But for a few days, we will have a 9-member crew on board the International Space Station. And then Expedition 37 will end, and Expedition 38 will begin.
We confirm the maneuver. Station moved up.
Федор, а ты картинку наблюдаешь?
Fedor, do you see the image? Do you see Soyuz?
Да, Коль, наблюдаешь.
Affirmative.
С подергиванием таким.
But there's some shaking on the screen, so what I can see is...
Сейчас.
Stand by.
Есть ГСО.
GSO confirmed.
7.63 подрывный импульс.
7.63 SKDF firing confirmed at 5:10 even.
Ускорение в норме.
Acceleration is normal, no issues. SKDU normal.
Принято. Отработали 5.
Copy.
6.
6 meters.
7 есть ГК.
GK confirmed.
Суммарный импульс.
Total burn
7.7.
7.7. And back rotation confirmed.
The teams here in Houston confirming that Impulse 4, that is a burn that the Soyuz is conducting, is complete.
Complete, live, and large.
The range now about 4 kilometers away. These two vehicles are currently crossing over parts of Australia, as you can tell by the color of the Earth down below.
Okay, so confirmed. Do you see the image? Affirmative. But still those horizontal stripes are there.
Just a spectacular view of the Earth there from the International Space Station. The camera's being panned around a bit to see if we can get a tally-ho and a visual on the Soyuz spacecraft as it brings up the crew. About 3.5 kilometers to go.
Beautiful.
Да, я только что Луру снял.
Unintelligible.
And here's our first views of the International Space Station. You see it there in the top left quadrant of this screen. As you can see down at the bottom left-hand side, 2.2 kilometers separating these two vehicles now at this point in time. As the space station continues to search this view of the Earth for the Soyuz as it closes in. It's about 2 kilometers away. We're going to go now live to NASA Public Affairs Officer Rob Navius, who is there on the ground in Baikonur. He and the rest of the dignitaries and the family members watched the launch earlier this evening. Now they're getting ready to watch the docking from a local former movie theater. So let's check in with Rob now and see how things are going.
Josh, good to talk to you and our viewers around the world. It has been less than 5.5 hours since the Soyuz TMA-10M spacecraft took flight from the Baikonur Cosmodrome from Site 1, Gagarin Start, the launch pad as they call it. And I must tell you that it was a pulsating feeling for the guests and the VIPs gathered at the launch site in the viewing stand to watch the spacecraft with the call sign of Pulsar take flight on this fast-track 6-hour rendezvous to the International Space Station. Those guests, the families, VIPs, dignitaries, local dignitaries as well, are in the process of arriving here at the Agat Hall, as it is called. You mentioned it was a former movie theater used by troops in the area years ago for relaxation purposes, to spend a few hours taking their mind off the business of the day. The guests and the VIPs in the seats behind me, which will be filled a short time from now, will have an opportunity to, by phone, talk to the newly arrived crew members, Kotov family, the Rosansky family, and Mike Hopkins' wife and his 2 sons. We'll also have a chance to talk to Mike Hopkins as they arrive on the International Space Station, make their way into the Zvezda service module, put on headsets, and get their first taste of the venue that will be their home for the next 5.5 months. Josh?
All right, thank you, Rob. Again, Rob and the rest of the family and the friends are there at that former movie theater there in the city of Baikonur. They're going to be watching the docking activities coming up in just a few minutes. We're about 7 minutes away from the fly-around beginning of the vehicle, where it will get itself lined up and ready to dock with the International Space Station some 30 minutes from now. As we saw a few minutes ago, the Soyuz itself had a view of the International Space Station. Space Station doesn't quite have a view of the Soyuz yet, but of course there is quite a difference in size between these two vehicles. And the visiting vehicle officer now confirming to Dina Cantella, the flight director here in Mission Control, that impulse burn number 5 has been completed. There's Cantella there on the far right-hand side. There's still one more impulse burn that should be taking place by this Soyuz. This will be impulse burn number 6. It should be taking place as we speak. We'll get a confirmation here in a moment that it has been completed. This is a 4.1 mile per hour burn. And we should be starting the fly around to the station coming up in about 4 minutes. Right now the range is about 700 meters between these two vehicles. And the team is confirming that that 6th impulse burn has been completed as planned. So the Soyuz in good shape, continuing to close in on the International Space Station now. About 600 meters between the two. About 3 minutes away from this fly around that'll be conducted. The Soyuz continuing to close in on the International Space Station. You see the view there on the far left-hand side. It's always so amazing whenever you think that a little more than 5 hours ago, this crew was sitting on a launch pad. And now they're closing in on their home for the next 5.5 months, just a few hours later. This is the first flight for Mike Hopkins. It is also the first flight for Sergei Rosansky. This is the third flight for Oleg Kotov, who will serve as Expedition 38 commander once that takes place after Yurchikhin, Parmitano, and Nyberg say farewell coming up in November and head back to Earth. But Sergei Rosansky becomes the 210th person aboard the International Space Station. Mike Hopkins will become the 211th person aboard. Of course, that sort of depends on what order they enter the hatches, but that is what we predict. There's a good view of the cupola there in the middle. And also the Soyuz that brought up Yurchikhin, Parmitano, and Nyberg. That is Soyuz number 35. And the teams are confirming that the fly around has begun of the International Space Station. We'll continue to monitor it as that takes place. Again, the fly around of the International Space Station is underway by the Soyuz that is carrying Oleg Kotov, Mike Hopkins, and Sergei Rosansky. The ground teams here are continuing to pan and tilt the cameras on the outside of the station to try to find the Soyuz, but it's sort of off the back end of the Russian segment at this point in time, and that's why we're not seeing it yet, but we'll pick it up here shortly. About 300 meters, give or take, separating the two vehicles now. There on the far right-hand side is the European Automated Transfer Vehicle. That is the Albert Einstein that is currently still docked with the International Space Station. There you see the Russian segment. The bottom side is the Progress 52 that is attached to the Piers docking compartment. That is the black object you see there at the top of the screen. And there, finally, is the Soyuz in view of the International Space Station. That entire Soyuz spacecraft is about 23.5 feet from top to bottom. You get a sense of exactly how big those solar arrays are whenever you take a look at them. They're 35 feet wide, which is about the size of a 3.5-story building. They're pretty sizable. The crew is currently in the middle section. That is the descent module. The part that's staring at us straight ahead right now, that is the orbital module. That's the part that will actually attach to the station coming up in about 21 minutes. But for now, this fly around continuing. Yeah, Soyuz getting lined up for its station keeping, where it will sort of pause and hold for a minute, and then it'll begin its final approach. About 217 meters separating the Soyuz and the International Space Station at this point in time. The range rate is fairly small right now, but the vehicle will continue to close in here momentarily. Russian ground controllers are continuing to monitor the health and the flights of the vehicle. Everything is green, looking good. We're about 18 minutes away from docking. This Soyuz drifting down toward the bottom of the screen. It's flying around, continuing 17 minutes now until docking.
How are you there?
Да нет, ничего, хорошо.
Good, have come?
Да, отлично.
No, we're fine. Yes, we're great.
Пропали вы из моего вида. Пытаюсь найти вас за солнечную батарею.
Inaudible.
Ты где окопался?
Are you in DC?
ВСУ в миме. Втором, да, и есть паховые еще.
We're in
На движение вас.
MRM.
About 200 meters between the Soyuz and the International Space Station. What this fly-around is doing is basically swinging this vehicle up around the back end of the station and up on top of it. This poise module that they're going to be docking with actually points up towards space. It is directly across from the Piers docking compartment, which points down below. That is where the current Progress 52 is currently docked. And then the Soyuz that brought up your Chikin, Parmitano, and Nyberg is docked basically next door, pointing down toward the Earth below on the Rosvet module. So a busy time for the Russian segment with all the ports being occupied at this point. ATV is back there at the back on the Zvezda service module. These two vehicles are currently about to enter into orbital sunset in just a few minutes. So it will be dark at the time of docking. But they're up over the South Pacific Ocean right now, about to make a northeastern swing up towards South America. And at the time the docking takes place, they should be just off the coast of Peru in South America.
I'm also trying to look at the display, too.
Да, отчетка уже практически уже сейчас в конусе.
Yes, we are within...
Депо работает вообще.
We're almost
200 метров.
within docking.
Успел, видишь, земля когда запросила, вы на разворот
You
пошли.
see it probably the ground requested and you
Жалко.
started the maneuver.
Сейчас новость выйдете.
We're going to approach the axis and start the
Есть причал.
approach.
Да, на оси.
We have final approach and we're moving along the axis.
Начали разворачиваться по крену.
We started the
На оси ходите.
maneuver.
Сейчас скажу, загасись.
Потеряли ГСО.
We don't have GSO right now.
Сейчас есть восстановить.
We have it back.
Связь есть.
We have COM.
Изображение от вас очень плохое. Хотя цифры разобрать.
We can see the numbers, we can make out the numbers, but the picture is poor.
На оси.
Sorry, please provide, we do not have video coverage right now, but sorry, provide voice com.
Закончили практически разворот.
We have completed
По курсу
the row maneuver,
скорости около.
range, not above, range rate is practically zero,
Вот.
and we have the acquisition.
Фару подготовьте и можно переходить в причал.
You can transition to final approach. Could you repeat it? Could you please repeat it? Prepare the headlight. Okay. I'm going to remove the AGC mode. We have the headlight ready.
Разрешаем переход в причале.
Soyuz is currently station keeping away from the International Space Station a few hundred meters.
Sending the final approach command.
They're about to start final approach coming up here shortly.
53503. Do you have near range light on? Yes.
Остальные Дальность 190,
Range
скорость 0,48, набираем скорость на
190, range rate is
называем М2. Крен выпуск,
048. We are accelerating to approach.
состояние без замечаний.
Status is without issues. Copy.
По параметрам без замечаний.
Parameters are without issues.
Дальность 166, 0,87 на сближение.
Range is 166 and 048.
166 meters between the International Space Station and the Soyuz. The final approach underway now.
0540. Copy. 0540.
Дальность 140, скорость 0,71.
Range 140.
140 meters between the two vehicles. Looks like we're going to be docking slightly earlier than planned tonight.
The docking port.
The two spacecraft still high above the South Pacific Ocean, crossing over into orbital night. Still waiting to pick back up communications with both vehicles.
Скорость 0,56.
Принято.
Range rate is 056. Yes, please report range and range rate on a regular basis.
Цвет, значит, чтобы это на мерцание читаю.
We're currently trying to select the color
Периодически еще
to make it more visible. Well, we do not have the video right now.
5 метров.
95 meters.
Сейчас скорость. Не очень разбойчив. 47, 0,47.
Range rate 047.
принято.
Copy.
Мишень в центре.
The
ОСК.
crosshairs are in the center of OSK.
Oleg Kotov, the commander of the Soyuz, reporting that his docking target is in the middle of the crosshairs, as you would expect it to be. A little bit less than 90 meters between the two vehicles now.
метров 0,3.
70 meters. Range rate 03. Approaching. And the crosshairs are in the center.
So the Soyuz moving in at 0.3 meters per second.
According to the telemetry we're seeing, all the data looks nominal, no issues.
Все хорошо.
Everything is good on our side as well.
В корабле все весьма.
Crew reporting that everything going according to plan, and they're doing well.
Движение плавное, дальность 60.
We're approaching
25.
slowly and steadily. Range is 60.
Мишень практически в центре идет плавно.
The target is practically in the center, and we're approaching smoothly.
Метров есть.
We have 47 meters. SSVP activated.
Скорость 0,18.
Range rate 018.
Принято.
Copy.
So 1/10 of a meter per second is the speed at which the Soyuz is closing in. They're about 40 plus meters away right now.
The probe on
Дальность 45, 0,18.
range 45, and range rate 018.
Есть транспарант ОВК Захар.
We have the OVK closed.
Принято. Закрыто.
Message eliminated.
That round circle you see there right above the crosshairs on the screen, that is the docking hatch of the Poisk module. That is going to be this vehicle's home for the next 5.5 months. Poise sits there right in between the Zvezda service module and the Zarya module.
We see this stage.
We're coming up on the 15th anniversary of the launch of Zarya. Of course, that was the first piece of the International Space Station ever launched back on November 20th of 1998.
Range rate 015. Range 30, range rate 013. The target is in the center, and the crosshairs are aligned. Copy. Range 2525, range rate 013. Copy.
Still easing in at 1/10 of a meter per second, about 25 meters between the two vehicles.
Range 20 to 0. Range rate 13. Range rate 9. 20 meters and 9. Oleg. Right now, you're going to have a little motion along the roll angle. Okay. The target is in the center. The crosshairs are aligned.
meters,
17 meters, 01.
So 17 meters between the two vehicles. Again, docking was planned for 9:48 p.m. Central Time. It's going to be slightly early. We'll have an official time once the two vehicles are docked and secured to each other.
$15 meters.
метров 012.
10 meters, 012. The target is in the center. Crosshairs are aligned. Copy. Continue providing your voice commentary.
9 метров 03.
9 meters, 01.
9 meters in closing, standing by for contact and capture.
No issues.
The space station is currently 262 miles above the Pacific Ocean, just to the west of Peru.
7 метров 0.
7 meters, 01.
метров 012. В центре собрано.
5 meters, 012. Target in the center. Crosshairs aligned. 2 meters.
013.
013.
Все в центре, без извинений.
Everything is aligned in the center, no issues.
Есть подвод, есть механ соединение.
We have mechanical contact. We have
Contact and capture confirmed at 9:45 p.m. Central Time with the space station 261 miles above the Pacific Ocean, just to the west of Lima, Peru. Once again, contact and capture of the Soyuz carrying Oleg Kotov, Sergei Ryazanskiy, and Mike Hopkins at 9:45 p.m. Central Time, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Time.
Master and indicator mode. That's great.
Да, работаем. Работаем по 67.
We're working for page 67.
Отключаю 18.
67.
Москвы, запись остановки.
MCC Moscow ISS, should we stop the recording? Yes, you can go ahead and stop the recording.
Отключил?
You shut it down? Yes.
Фара отключена. Пересветку даю Роман 6.
Oh, I'm sending R6. AGC mode.
Выдан Роман 6.
We sent Rover 6 command.
Выдаю Роман 7.
Sending Roman 7 command.
The crew continuing to work through the checklist as their vehicle has arrived at the International Space Station, docking with the Poisk module at 9:45 p.m. Central Time, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Time. The next major step is to drive all of the hooks closed. This is what basically forms the hard mate between the two vehicles and forms the airtight seal between Poisk and this Soyuz. The Poisk is up there on the top side of the station. All of the Russian ports now occupied, with two Soyuzes, a Progress down there at the bottom, and the European Automated Transfer Vehicle number 4 there at the back.
Yes, open.
Дальше? Да.
Yes, this way.
Of course, we're about to have another vehicle arrive in a few days as well. An American port's going to be occupied by Orbital's Cygnus vehicle. It is out there hanging out in space right now. It'll be cleared to approach the station in a matter of days.
Everything is nominal on the station side.
And then at that point, there will be basically 5 vehicles attached to the station all at once. So quite a busy time for the International Space Station. Now, technically back up to 6 crew members. Of course, the hatches will be open coming up later on tonight. There's still some work to be done on both sides of the hatches of the Russian segment. But we're due to open the hatches in the 11 o'clock Central Time hour. And of course, we'll have live coverage here on NASA television of all of that. Also coming up after the hatches are open, all the family and friends that are gathered there at the Baikonur, city of Baikonur, where Rob Navius reported from a few minutes ago. They're watching our live coverage. They'll have a chance to talk with their family and friends who just arrived at the space station. Of course, we'll have that live here on NASA television as well.
We're waiting for the electrical connector.
Есть стрела. Да, есть электрозъем состыкован опрос.
We have the electrical connector mated and the message hooks open is no longer illuminated. 5:49:20 is the time. Copy. V18 at 5:49:40.
The visiting vehicle officer here in Mission Control talking with his Russian counterparts, confirming that the hooks are being driven closed. Again, this is what forms sort of the permanent hard mate between the two vehicles. It takes a few minutes to accomplish that.
Lighting unit.
Олег, доброе утро. По пульту слышно меня?
Good morning. How would you read me? Yes, Read you loud and clear. Good morning. Well, guys, good job. As we said, 6 hours, and you're on station. You just need to do several things in order to ingress the station. Well, congratulations and thank you to those who put together all this equipment. So well done. Everything went automatic. These are 2 stages. You formed the ascent into orbit, and then you docked all in one day. Yes. A lot of congratulations going back and forth today. Oh, better your chicken, how are you? Yes, we're loud and clear. Congratulations. Get ready for your guests, and I will do very best to talk to you next time. Thank you, everybody who designed and made the wonderful vehicle and equipment. Thank you very much, Mission Control. And now we're going to be twice as gifted. Okay, we have the message hooks closed illuminated. Yes, we see it as well.
And the team here in Houston confirming that the hooks have been completely closed between the Soyuz and the space station Poisk module. The next step for the crew will be to conduct a series of leak checks between the 2 sides of the hatches to make sure that there's an airtight seal.
On switching to electrical control. Fedor, you can switch КВД пока into electrical control. The hooks are closed. Okay, copy. Get ready, orbital flight book.
And the team here in Houston continuing to monitor the flight of the vehicle up to the International Space Station. Again, docking taking place at 9:45 p.m. Central Time, or 10:45 p.m. Eastern Time, all going according to plan. A little more than 5 hours after launch, this crew reached the International Space Station. It's going to be their home for the next 5.5 months.
Go ahead, Fedor, on space ground 2. КВД is in electrical control.
Mike Hopkins and Sergei Rosansky and Oleg Kotov now are 1 step away from entering into the hatches and getting used to their new home.
I was closing some applications. And
we want to remind you that coming up at 11 p.m. Central Time, we will have live coverage of the welcome ceremony between the 2 crews. We'll begin that at 11 Central, midnight Eastern. That ceremony should take place at 11:25 p.m. Central Time, 12:25 a.m. Eastern Time. And as we mentioned, there will be an in-flight event with the crews as they say hello to all their families and friends that have gathered down there in the city of Baikonur at that former movie theater. That is where they've been watching our coverage. And we'll be watching our coverage again later on this evening as they see their family and friends on board the space station for the first time. There they are in the city of Baikonur, getting ready to take a look at their family and friends they said farewell to here just several hours ago on Earth, who are now up in space. So we'll be back at 11 p.m. Central Time, midnight Eastern Time, live here on NASA television for the hatch opening between this Soyuz that just arrived to the International Space Station. Mike Hopkins, Sergei Rosansky, and Oleg Kotov getting ready to say hello to their new crewmates, Fyodor Yurchik and Luca Parmitano and Karen Nyberg, who have been on board the station since May. So we'll see you back here at 11 o'clock Central Time, midnight Eastern Time, here on NASA television. This is Mission Control Houston.
92 cents.